Hello, friends. I have a theory that in today's society, the hoodie has replaced the wizard's cloak. I'm starting to notice it a lot. Anyway, the only reason I'm wearing this is because half the guys I watch are wearing hoodies all the time, and I'm like, see, I wear hoodies all the time too, I just never use it in my videos. Anyway, that's enough of being funny. I don't like this music right now. Ha. Next. We'll see about that one. Anyway, I just wanted to do an update, and I know I've just been doing updates lately. And I will do something else later, but there's so much going on right now. It's intense. It's mostly personal stuff, and when you... Okay. So, this is the insight I had, first of all, when I was walking today. When you do really intense work, like Qigong or Kunlun or any type of intense purification, any type of intense dream work, and you tackle your demons, or you start to remove those quote-unquote negative or unuseful blockages, energy patterns, whatever you want to call them, from your energy matrix, we're continually evolving and evolving and evolving into forms of greater and greater complexity, always, without fail. And so once you remove something like that, all of that evolution and growth starts to speed up, and it can burn you out. And that's sort of what I've been experiencing lately. I didn't even realize it until today. Yesterday, I got extremely tired in the middle of the day, which I don't usually do, and I thought it was for other reasons. But today, the same thing happened at about 2:30, and I have been, having tons of energy all the way through the day, just go and go and go and go and go. I'm getting a lot more exercise lately, and I've been exposed to the sun more frequently, so I thought that might have something to do with it. But really, it's probably just because I've been doing some really intense personal work lately, and I got burnt out. So I just wanted to mention that what do you do when you're doing intense work like that and you really do succeed and remove these chunks of yourself, and then all of a sudden your energy matrix is like, all the currents are free to flow in directions they've always wanted to flow, and they start making, all these connections and patterns, and all of a sudden you're evolving faster than you can handle. Something like that. And it's been mostly a mental thing for me. I don't really meditate per se, but when I'm excuse me, when I'm in the midst of some really intense session, it's so purging and purifying that any moment I take to stop and just breathe becomes a meditation. And that has been much easier for me to get to a place of what they would call in jhana meditation, access concentration, so that you're keenly aware of everything that's happening as it's happening, but with no attachment to it, and with no prejudgments, and with no real thought attached to it at all. So that you're just in a state of heightened, intense awareness of your internal and external environment at once, simultaneously, and not passing judgment on any of them. You're just witnessing it. That's what I've been able to do lately a lot more easily. And the effect that it has on the entire person and on your personal evolution is tremendous and can't be overestimated. The other thing I want to talk about a lot, but it could take forever, is, I also wanted to mention, so once you do that, you start to remove these big chunks of yourself, and all these things start to happen faster. What do you do? Because you feel burnt out, what do you do? For me, it's adopting a much more yin approach, because my approach, I will admit, is pretty yang all the time. I kind of just plow through everything, and then it just, okay, now you need an intense cooling period. Okay, so just be calm, just take the time to do regular things and chores, that kind of thing. I like to do that. It kind of like brings you back down to earth. Go on walks. Silence is good, and what you might call prayer, which for me is not a usual thing, but just sitting there and just simply connecting to your higher self. Chanting mantras, a really good way to bring yourself back into balance, and that's what I'll be engaging in for the next several days at least. The other thing I want to talk about is probably my most commonly occurring ascension symptom, and I call it the spot. I was looking for you this evening for several, because I know they're there, journal entries in my personal journal from several years past referring to the spot. I'm, however, exceptionally worried because I cannot find my old journal, and it's really, really scaring me. But we'll see whatever happens, and if it's lost, and we gotta move on. But the spot has been happening for a really long time in my personal journey, and it started out as this really focused point of light that would just appear in my vision, and it was kind of not a point, just a point. It was like this garbled, funky galaxy-looking thing, like a starlight or something like that, and it was intrusive. It would come at me, and I'd be like, what the heck is that, And I would start to see it in different places. It would be more spread out. It would happen when I would look at certain things or certain areas of my surroundings. It would, like that. And I couldn't explain it. My first explanation was astrological. I felt like an energy was coming down into me, and it was trying to integrate into my energy bodies, and that my energy bodies they didn't exactly know how to handle it, or something like that. And so it was causing this weird pattern that weren't they weren't coming in properly. The other, and I don't really believe that so much anymore. The other one was that there were bad or negative energies around me, and that I was ascending and becoming more full of light, etc. And I was pushing these away or transforming them as they were bombarding my energy field or coming up against my energy field. I still believe that sort of thing happens to a certain extent, but it happens in a different way. And let's see. My other theory was just that it wasn't astrological necessarily, or it wasn't other energies, but that my work was so intense and lasting that it just keeps going. And what I mean by that is when I do something like a Kunlun and I really, really blast my head open and blast my energy bodies open, and all this stuff gets removed, and all of this, the true blissful self is more self-evident within my physical body, then it has to change things in my physical body, and that changes a lot more slowly than the energy changes. The energy changes so quickly that now it's just continually coming through and coming through and coming through, and my body is having a hard time adjusting to it. And that's pretty much the theory that I now subscribe to. But it's interesting because it will happen in different places and in different ways. And today it was happening. It's been happening since tomorrow. It started, and it starts out really subtle, and then it's just happening and happening and happening. It hasn't happened now since almost an hour, about a half an hour ago. And for some reason it's just completely stopped now. It's not my eyes. I've dismissed that theory. It's yeah. And let's see. Okay. Now I'm starting to fumble. Sorry. So this has been happening again since yesterday, and it was happening a lot all day today, and then it just kept happening and happening and happening as I was like doing old things, like going through old boxes and getting my taxes in order, and it would on the papers, and I had a lot of old style business that I had to do today. And when I was in this old style of business, my old vocation, it would happen all the time. And now that I was dealing with that work again, it started happening again, and so it was no coincidence to me. It was significant. And then today, it was just happening and happening, and then I decided I should probably go for a walk. And so we went for a walk, and the entire walk It did not happen until I got back to my neighborhood. And as soon as I got back to my neighborhood and I saw a person, and I looked at that person, it happened again, and then I got back up closer to my house and it happened again. And today I had this weird feeling of coming back into my own personal space, like I had to run an errand. As I was driving away, I felt good, like a sense of relief and liberation for some reason, and then when I got closer to my house, I started feeling bogged down again. And I think it's because, this is just another theory that I'm throwing out there, but it seems to make sense. When we engage in such intense practice, such purgative, purifying practice, it gives a charge to everything around you. And to be in that space is to still be experiencing those energies in a more focused manner. It'll always be with you, and it's always happening through you, but anyone will tell you, well, not anyone, but even like, especially like in certain traditions, in meditation traditions, you always meditate in the same clothes, you always meditate on the same chair, in the same spot, and because it builds up a charge, and then once you sit there, all of that energy that you built up from the previous times meditating or practicing or cultivating or doing whatever is helpful. It gets you to that place faster. And that's very true. I always practice in the same spot. It's always in this chair over here. And I notice that when I get closer to my spot where I practice, the energy vibration is a lot higher. And so that's true of everything around you. When you engage in something as intense as the things that I engage in, it charges things further out too. And so my house has a really good charge to it. My neighborhood has a bigger charge to it, and then the community in general, it spreads out. But then when I start to come closer to my house, I can start to feel the resonation with the energy that is coming off, the vibration that is coming off of my own house. I start to get close and I start to feel it. It's really weird. But today, for some reason, I didn't want to come back into that space, and it was for certain other personal reasons, at least I thought. But then as soon as I was there, as soon as I parked, I was like, okay, there's something else going on here. And so as soon as I got back, the spot started happening again, and I decided, okay, let's go for a walk. I need to go for a walk. It didn't happen that entire time until I came back. So my thinking is I really reached a new level in what I've been doing lately. It's very evident to me. And it's a big leap. When I say I've reached a new level, I mean it's only a big leap, because you can reach new levels every day or whatever, but it's a big shift that's happening right now. And March is a very tricky month for me because it's starting to be the end of winter, and I was born in winter. At least this is my thinking of it. And it's a 3, and I have this constant repetition of 3s and extreme difficulty with 3s. 3, 1, 1, 3, 1, 3, 3, 2, 3 sometimes, not as bad. 3, 3, 3, the worst. 3, 9, 9, 3, 9, 1, 3, 1, all these different combinations. And, of course, a 9 is 3 3s and whatever. All this crazy stuff. And I've been seeing constant patterns of 3 and 3, 1 and 1, 3 and 1, 1, 3. For at least this entire month and a little bit before. Oh, God, what was my point? So the intense work, building up a charge around a specific place, and then when I came back into this space, I realized my body or my inner being is expressing dissatisfaction with having to be in this place of intense awakening right now. I didn't want to come back to my house because it's hard to be here right now, because the energy I've built up in this place is so intense. I can't imagine what everybody else is going through because of it. It's not just me, I affect people around me as well. Water. More patterns. On the start of the walk, guess who came back? My Black Widow friend. We're walking the dog, and right along, I could tell the spot stopped happening, and I knew that this walk was going to be at least in some way significant. And I found the dog and my partner jumped over this black spot on the sidewalk, perfectly, beautifully stretched out, elegant looking, black widow just standing there, and it didn't budge. You know, I was like, is it a fossil? Like, what's it doing? You know, and it was just standing there, and you know, my partner looks back, he's like, oh my god, is that a black widow just chilling there? I'm like, yeah, it's just on the sidewalk chilling. Whoa. And what's interesting for me, if you've been paying attention to these crazy updates of mine, the first time the black widow appeared, it was at the door to my meditation room, which is this room you see, just before the door to my meditation room. The second time, it was by a door outside my house, to the outside of my house, I should say, right in between the cracks, right there. So it was like the internal world, and then you know, the skin of the internal and external world, and this time it was completely outside, almost completely removed from me because it was really far away, and then it just kind of walked into the ice plant. It was just strange for me to see it again, and this time I wasn't scared of it, and this time I didn't kill it. You know, and I didn't, you know, pay it much mind. I'm just like, oh, okay, well, there it is again. That makes sense, because the energy I've been feeling lately is just really, I don't know, just intensely powerful and significant, and this black widow creature has been coming up, you know, so it's just another pattern, another sign. And then, on the walk, we've been through the same path twice now, going different directions, twice before. This time, it was a specific time of day, and okay, so we're walking westward, and you can see the sun setting, almost about to hit the mountains. And then the light is shining straight through the path. And as the light is shining straight through the path, suddenly I notice that there are black widow webs against the retaining wall on the entire length of the path. So, I mean, they could have been, some of them could have not been black widow webs, but if you've ever seen a black widow web, it is extremely scattered and weird looking, and they were definitely that kind of web, and they were big, and there were tons of them. And so I'm thinking, okay, I'm gonna die on this walk, but no. You know, we just kept walking and everything, and it was fine, and never saw any more spiders. But it was interesting because it was like, it's like my neighborhood, then another line of houses, which are right behind me, which I can see, which are sort of like up an embankment, another line of houses, and then fence, our backyard, fence, equestrian, pedestrian trail, which we're jogging on, retaining wall with row of black widow webs all the way across it, like as a barrier, and then another neighborhood. And so this to me is like, you know, I don't know, the landscape. Never mind. It's just a weird image I'm having as I'm walking through here. I don't know if it's significant at all. But going back to the building up a charge and, you know, the layers of it, this is like the epicenter of some really... And I don't think I'm being presumptuous in assuming that my personal awakening is significant for the rest of the world. I know that sounds horrible, but it's true. You know, it has to be. Of course it is. That's the epicenter of where I'm waking up, and then it comes in concentric circles all the way across. And, you know, the fact that I'm pushing these things out of my center of experience and expanding them so that the black widow is all of a sudden here. I do the work to push it away, then it's a little farther. I do the work to push it away, it's a little farther. And it's just going to keep expanding until that messiness and that negativity and that trash, or that evil karma, or whatever you want to call it, is more purged in more places. And that's just the continual process that I'm going through. Whether it's mine or theirs or whomever's does not matter. It's all the same. And that was basically it. If you've made it this far, no, I'm going to save that for another video. So thanks for watching. I'm going to post this now, and hopefully somebody will watch the whole thing.